What if the world you knew simply vanished in a single day? Imagine waking to a familiar sunrise. The air is warm and smells of baking bread and salt water from the nearby bay. You hear the rumble of cartwheels on stone streets and the distant chatter of merchants setting up their stalls for the day. This was the morning of August 24th, 79 AD, in the bustling Roman city of Pompeii. It was a day that began like any other, but it would not end. The city, its people, and its future were about to be erased from the world, swallowed by the very mountain that had watched over them for centuries. This is the story of their final 24 hours. Life in Pompeii pulsed with a vibrant, predictable rhythm. It was a prosperous city, a resort for Rome's wealthy and a hub of commerce for the Campania region. The great mountain, Vesuvius, loomed over the city not as a threat, but as a promise. The cataclysm did not arrive without a whisper. In the days and even hours leading up to the eruption, the earth offered subtle, quiet warnings. A series of minor earth tremors had shaken the area for several days. Residents had grown accustomed to the ground shuddering now and then. A major earthquake had damaged the city 17 years earlier. Small quakes were part of life. A glass might rattle on a shelf. A hanging lamp might sway. But life would continue. Other clues were stranger, harder to ignore. Springs ran dry. Wells ran dry. Their sources were mysteriously cut off deep within the earth. From the ground, a faint, unsettling smell began to rise in some places. The sharp, metallic scent of sulfur, like rotten eggs. Animals, more attuned to the planet's distress signals, grew anxious. Birds took flight. Dogs whined and hid. These were nature's alarms, ringing silently, but the humans of Pompeii were deaf to their meaning. Around 1 o'clock in the afternoon, the mountain finally broke its silence. It did not begin with fire and lava, but with a sound that defied all explanation. A colossal, deafening explosion ripped through the air, a crack so loud it was heard for hundreds of miles. It was the sound of a cork being violently blasted from a champagne bottle, but on a planetary scale. A gigantic column of gas smoke, superheated rock, rocketed miles into the sky, punching a hole through the atmosphere. It spread out at its peak, forming a dark, terrifying shape, which Pliny the Younger would later describe as a giant umbrella pine tree. The sun, a moment before bright and warm, was blotted out. Day turned into an unnatural, terrifying twilight. The first things to fall were not heavy. A light grayish ash began to drift down, dusting streets and rooftops like a grim snowfall. This was quickly followed by a hail of small, lightweight stones called pumice. Pebbles fist-sized stones rained down relentlessly. At first, it was an alarming curiosity. People looked up, confused, holding out their hands to catch the strange material. But the shower intensified, becoming a thick, unending torrent. The pumice began to pile up inch by inch, forming a blanket of debris that made walking difficult and muffled all sound into a dull, percussive roar. As the pumice fall intensified, the instinct for survival ignited a frantic exodus. And the city's order dissolved into chaos. Families, separated in the confusion, shouted names into the dark, their voices hoarse with dust and fear. People grabbed what few precious belongings they could carry: a bag of coins, a favorite lamp, a statuette of a household god, and stumbled out into the nightmare. The streets, now covered in a deep, shifting layer of pumice stones, were like treacherous beaches of sharp gravel. Running was nearly impossible. Many tried to reach the city gates, hoping to escape into the open countryside. But the roads beyond were no safer. The same rain of stone fell everywhere, and the darkness was disorienting. Others ran toward the port, believing their only hope lay in the sea, imagining finding a boat, a ship, anything that could carry them away from this cursed land. But the sea itself was in turmoil. The water had receded dramatically, grounding boats and making the harbor unusable. The long, terrifying night gave way to the deadliest phase of the eruption. Sometime after dawn on the following day, the great column of ash and gas became too heavy to support its own weight. It collapsed. This triggered a series of pyroclastic surges, incinerating avalanches of superheated gas ash rock fragments. These were not like slow-moving lava flows. They were unimaginably fast, moving down the slopes at hundreds of miles per hour. A dense black cloud of death, it hugged the ground, flowing like a liquid and pouring over the landscape, instantly obliterating everything in its path. The first surge did not reach Pompeii, but it annihilated the nearby town of Herculaneum, killing everyone who had sought shelter in the boathouses. But it was only a matter of time. A subsequent, more powerful surge broke from the volcano and raced directly toward Pompeii. This was the final, inescapable blow. It was a wave of pure heat, exceeding 500 degrees Fahrenheit. It swept over the city walls and roared through the streets and buildings in a matter of minutes. After the final, deadly surge, the eruption continued for hours, burying Pompeii even deeper. Layers of ash and hardened rock piled up, reaching a depth of up to 20 feet. The city vanished from sight. The landscape was transformed into a flat, gray, desolate plain. For a few survivors who had escaped, looking back revealed nothing but a wasteland where their homes, markets, and temples once stood. Over time, nature reclaimed the land. Soil formed. Grass and wildflowers began to grow. Trees began to grow. Farmers planted vineyards and orchards on the new, rich ground, unaware of the silent city beneath their feet. A few ancient texts mentioned its name, but its exact location was forgotten. Pompeii became a legend, a ghost story whispered from the past. The rediscovery happened by accident in the late 16th century, when canal workers struck painted walls and inscriptions. The true excavation began in 1748. Early treasure hunts gave way to systematic archaeology. An entire city lay waiting to be uncovered, its preservation breathtaking. They found buildings and their contents, even loaves of bread still in the oven, ready to be sold. Perhaps the most profound and haunting discovery came in 1863 under Giuseppe Fiorelli. He realized the voids were left by decomposed bodies and poured plaster to reveal perfect casts, direct echoes of human beings. We see a man curled, a young woman with twisted robes, a family huddled together. These figures give a face to the tragedy. The legacy of Pompeii is twofold. A timeless warning: millions still live in the shadow of volcanoes. Heed science, plan evacuations, respect nature. And a priceless gift: the ash preserved a moment in time. We can see the food they ate, the tools they used, the art they loved, the gods they worshipped. Remember Pompeii for its people. Let their frozen voices remind us to cherish our fleeting moments and teach us for generations to come.